The message from my wife Megan arrived at 8:46 p.m. while I was sitting alone at the dinner table, looking at the food I had prepared hours earlier. It was nothing unusual at first. She had worked late many times before, especially during busy weeks at her company. I trusted her because that's what I believed marriage was built on. Her message said, "Working late again, babe, don't wait up." I stared at those words for a few seconds and almost replied with my usual, "Okay, be safe." But something stopped me. Earlier that evening, I had received a message from her coworker Ryan, someone I had met several times at company events. He casually mentioned that the office had closed early because of a building maintenance issue. At first, I thought maybe Megan was working somewhere else or handling something remotely. I didn't want to assume the worst. I wanted an explanation, not a confrontation. So I calmly typed one sentence, "Strange. Your coworker just told me the office closed 3 hours ago." Within seconds, the typing bubble appeared on my screen. Then it disappeared. No answer. No explanation. Just silence. That silence bothered me more than any excuse could have. For years, Megan had always been the person I trusted most. We built our life together, supported each other's goals, and promised we would always be honest with one another. But over the past few months, small things had started changing. She became more protective of her phone, started spending more evenings away from home, and seemed frustrated whenever I asked simple questions about her schedule. Every time I brought up my concerns, she told me I was being suspicious for no reason. I wanted to believe that. I wanted to believe I was simply overthinking. Nobody wants to look at the person they love and wonder if they're being lied to. But that night, the situation felt different. It wasn't about her working late. It was about the fact that two different stories were being told. I didn't need to accuse her. I didn't need to create a fight. I just needed the truth. And the longer she stayed silent, the more I realized that her silence was becoming an answer. A few minutes later, Megan finally called. Her voice sounded nervous instead of confident. She immediately asked, "Why would Ryan tell you that?" That question caught my attention because it wasn't an explanation. It was concern about how I found out. I calmly replied, "Before we talk about Ryan, tell me where you are." There was a pause. A long one. Then she started explaining that plans had changed and she decided to finish some work somewhere else. I listened carefully, but something felt wrong. The details kept changing. First, she was at the office. Then she was working remotely. Then she was meeting someone to discuss a project. Each explanation created another question. I wasn't angry because she wasn't home. I was hurt because honesty seemed to become available only after she was questioned. I told Megan that mistakes can be fixed, but trust becomes difficult when someone only tells the truth after being caught in a contradiction. For the first time, she realized this wasn't just an argument about a late night. It was about the foundation of our marriage. When Megan finally came home, the house was quiet. She walked in expecting me to be angry, but instead, she found me sitting calmly in the living room. I didn't want a shouting match. I had already spent enough time trying to prove that my feelings mattered. I simply asked her one question. "If Ryan never mentioned the office closing, would you have ever told me the truth?" She looked away. That moment answered more than any words could. Megan tried to explain that she didn't want to worry me and that she thought it wasn't a big deal. But I told her that honesty isn't only about the things we choose to share. It's also about the things we choose not to hide. She realized that the problem wasn't just where she spent those hours. It was the fact that she created a story and expected me to accept it without question. The sentence, "Working late again, babe, don't wait up," suddenly meant something completely different. Megan sat quietly on the couch that night, and for the first time, she stopped trying to explain everything away. She admitted that she should have been honest from the beginning instead of creating a story that she knew would be easier for me to accept. I asked her why she felt the need to hide the truth, and her answer surprised me. She said she had become afraid of difficult conversations because every disagreement between us turned into frustration and distance. I listened because I knew our marriage wasn't perfect either. There were moments when I could have communicated better, and times when I focused too much on being right instead of understanding how she felt. But I told her something important. Problems in a marriage can be solved. Losing trust is what makes them harder. Megan finally understood that the issue wasn't just one night or one explanation. It was the pattern of avoiding honesty until there was no choice left. Over the next few weeks, Megan and I had conversations we should have had months earlier. We talked about why we had become distant and how small problems had turned into bigger ones because neither of us wanted to face them. She admitted that she had handled the situation badly and that she understood why her actions hurt me. I told her that trust isn't rebuilt through promises made during emotional moments. It is rebuilt through consistent behavior over time. We both had to make changes. Megan needed to be more open, and I needed to be more willing to listen without immediately assuming the worst. The experience showed us that relationships don't usually break because of one conversation or one mistake. They break when people stop communicating and start hiding behind excuses. For the first time in a long time, we weren't trying to win an argument. We were trying to understand each other. As time passed, we slowly began rebuilding the connection we had lost. It wasn't easy, and there were still moments when the memory of that night came back. But instead of avoiding those feelings, we faced them together. Megan learned that honesty doesn't mean telling the truth only when someone asks the right question. It means being truthful before a situation becomes a problem. I learned that trust also requires patience because healing doesn't happen instantly. We started spending more quality time together, having deeper conversations, and paying attention to the things we had ignored before. Whether our marriage would become stronger or whether we would eventually choose different paths depended on the effort we both put in. The important thing was that we finally stopped pretending everything was fine. We started dealing with the real issues instead of just reacting when something went wrong. Looking back, the message "working late again, babe, don't wait up" was more than just a text. It became the moment when everything hidden beneath the surface finally came into the open. My reply, "Strange. Your coworker just told me the office closed 3 hours ago," wasn't about starting a fight or trying to catch Megan in a lie. It was about asking for the honesty that every relationship deserves. That night taught me that trust isn't destroyed only by huge betrayals. Sometimes it is weakened by small choices, incomplete explanations, and moments when people decide honesty is inconvenient. A marriage cannot survive when two people are living different versions of reality. It survives when both people are willing to face uncomfortable truths and choose better actions afterward. The hardest part wasn't discovering that something was wrong. The hardest part was accepting that we needed to change. But sometimes the truth that hurts the most is also the truth that gives people a chance to rebuild something stronger.